Hello everyone and welcome to the MISAO, and thank you for joining me for this excellent chapter of We Never Learn. Now, the Rizu route is being pretty boring as of late. However, the last couple of chapters have really started to get more interesting. However, it is unfortunate, sorry for Rizu fans, but it looks like that we're moving away from Rizu and now focusing on SEKIJO even more. And that's the reason as to why I personally believe these last two chapters have been a lot more interesting, enticing, and it's just got me back into the series a bit more. Because like I said, Rizu was getting stale, boring, and I was kind of on the point of not really caring about the series anymore. But thanks to SEKIJO and the emotion on display and the focus that we're getting from my character, I'm back in it and I want to read more chapters. So, this was a very emotional, heavy chapter with some hard-hitting and real-life kind of issues being brought to the chapter and to SEKIJO's character herself. So, if you're reading these chapters, you do have to bear in mind that obviously this is a fictional show, a fictional character, dealing with some problems that the reader may or may not be going through. So, I do wish they kind of be a bit careful in their approach moving forward, and I'll explain more later on as to why I kind of have some concerns about that. However, this chapter does have a very important message behind it, and I love it when these chapters do these message, whether it's hidden, whether it's blaring you in the face, or whatnot. Every time they have a message within a chapter or an anime episode, it makes it a really good chapter. And this message was all about teaching us that we should never avoid talking about the things that are upsetting us, and we shouldn't pretend that everything is okay when it's not. It's okay to rely on the people around you, like your friends, like your co-workers, and, ask for help. That's basically what this chapter was trying to tell us as the reader, as SEKIJO is going through some very hard, troubled times at the minute, and her emotional display is something that maybe or may not everyone can relate to. And it's basically just saying, look, you've got friends around you, use them, don't hide it all yourself. Don't cry alone, talk to somebody. And that's what I loved about this chapter overall. But the reason as to why SEKIJO decided to leave, I thought might help add some more layers and development to her character. And trust me, it certainly does just that. But I didn't expect to have more information about MISAO's character and a connection that are similar to both MISAO, Rizu, and SEKIJO. All of those three characters have a connection, apart from living together and being in the same flat, which I thought was a very welcome surprise, and I'll go into in just a second. But let's backtrack to deciding why SEKIJO moved in with her mother. In this chapter, we learned that she got this science kit when she was younger, and that kind of helped her focus more on her studies, thus she got better grades, thus her parents were very happy and started smiling more. This in turn made a little young SEKIJO very happy as she continued to move forward, getting good grades. However, her parents started to argue and started to fight, thus she wasn't getting very happy. And maybe the fact that she chose to move back in with her mother has something to do with the fact that her mother was always asking her what she wanted. So her mother would go, "SEKIJO, what do you want? It'll make you happy for your birthday, right?" Instead, her mother's going, "Will you do this for me? Will you move back in with me?" And that's a very big difference between asking what she wants than asking if she'll do something. And this obviously clicked in SEKIJO's mind and kind of went, oh, maybe something's a bit different here with Mum a bit. Normally she asks me what I want, but now she's asking me if I want to do something, which is in turn going to help her, instead of just helping myself. So maybe that's one approach. Maybe that's one reason, and we know that SEKIJO wants to see her parents smile again. That's all she really wants at the most simplest of explanations. However, we also learn in this chapter that SEKIJO has this mindset that she believes everybody is likely to leave her eventually, and that she was the cause of her parents arguing and eventually splitting up. So maybe she feels guilty on that level, or maybe she just wants a way out of her friend's circle group so that basically she doesn't have to deal with them rejecting her later on down the line, because that's her mindset at the moment. And although that's a wrong, incorrect, and bad mindset to have, she obviously can't help it due to all the circumstances and situations she's gone through. But if we back up to the fact that she just wants her mum to be happy, the most simplest of things that a kid wants is for their parents to be happy, and this can be backed up by her mother's expressions in this chapter, as she looks extremely happy while cooking, as you can see just to the right of myself, this way. And yeah, so we get introduced to Sekijo's mother, and she's very depressed, kind of sad, zombie-like, but now she's looking bright, happy, and much more clearer. And maybe it's just Sekijo wanting to see her like that all the time, and that's why she wanted to move out. And speaking of the mother, the design for a mother is absolutely fantastic. Now that she's looking a lot more cheerful, a lot more happier, you can start to see some of her charm and some of her good looks, so to speak. Her clumsiness is absolutely fantastic. I love that, made me laugh. And she looks to be a great cook, although she may put a bit too much heavy seasoning and spice into it. But she looks good with a frying pan. Awesome. Now then, Sekijo. In all honesty, Sekijo comes across as this really troubled character with a similar past to both MISAO and Rizu, as MISAO wanted to pretend that everything was okay, not to upset her parents, or to make them argue, possibly, we don't know. And she's similar to Rizu in the way that she believes that everybody will one day leave her, just like her parents, and the fact that she blamed herself for her parents splitting up. Rizu obviously had her grandmother to deal with when she didn't understand what her grandmother was going on about, and her grandmother eventually kind of came across as wanting to leave her behind. So from that perspective, you've got a reflection of Rizu in Sekijo's character, and you've got a reflection of MISAO. Plus, remember, Sekijo likes Rizu for the fact that Rizu can stand up for herself and does whatever she wants to do. And it's very heavily stated in this chapter that Sekijo doesn't care what anyone wants as long as they do what they want. Now, that's obviously a lie, it's a cover-up, it's her pretending, trying to tell herself that everything's okay when it's not. But again, maybe that's where the kind of idea started to sprout and kind of grew more and more into it. You know, once you tell yourself something, you might start believing it after a while, even if it's completely false. Now, at the end of the day, this is a character that just wants to go back to the time where her parents are nice and happy, smiling and happily together. She desperately wants her family to be back together and not feel like she's being left out or to feel like she's a burden to them. That's simply what Sekijo's character is all about and why she feels like she wants to do. Now then, if we move on to talk about MISAO, then lying to her parents and pretending that she's okay and that she only wants a doll after saying I wanted a friend, as a joke, really broke my heart. Because this is basically calling back to when we first get introduced to this character. When we first see her, she's in this flat and she's asking to have friends. She wants to have friends even after she's a spirit or a ghost. And the fact that we learnt this in this chapter, that before she died with the regret of not having any friends. She sees the kids outside having fun and playing. She wants to be one of those kids, and she never could. So she has this doll that was her final gift, and she's now haunting this flat, hoping that one of the people that buy the flat will become her friends. Now, to me, that was really sad when I read that. And this just added another layer of emotion to this already heavy emotional chapter. And with her really wanting to help Sekijo out, shows maturity and hopefully leads to more backstory for MISAO's character. Plus, adding the message of wanting to help your friends out, no matter what, was a very nice thing for MISAO's character. And it shows that even though Sekijo can't see her, she obviously considers Sekijo a friend. Because it's very clear that that's the case. Otherwise, she wouldn't want to help her, SEKIJO as much as possible. She would have picked up on the signs that SEKIJO was feeling sad or down and tag along with her while she was at the arcade, so that SEKIJO wasn't alone, even if she felt alone. MISAO's character for this chapter was just mature, brilliant, and great. Very different from what we're used to, because we're used to her being more comedic, but the fact that it's more of a relatable chapter for her in terms of the story that SEKIJO is going through, then, it's understandable why MISAO's taken this approach, and I love this character even more for that. So Rizu, she shows a hint of development, somewhat understanding the room and emotions of her friends, and what she's going through, and the fact that she wants to help as well is obvious, but it's also a nice touch, nevertheless. The art style in this chapter was fantastic throughout. The emotion on display that we saw from each character, each facial expression, was absolutely on point, and it helps add to the overall feel and vibe to the chapter, so that's much appreciated. The transition from backstory to like fading, that was brilliant. I absolutely loved that. A very emotional chapter, one that really I could get behind, and I really did appreciate it because it got me hooked back into the series. And I can't wait to see how they develop each character further and tie up this storyline. Now, talking about this storyline, is it really okay for Yuiga and Rizu and MISAO to try and intervene? Because, like I said, this is a situation that a character is going through that could basically be portrayed by the reader as something that's very similar to their situation. And is a situation that isn't very easily fixed in the best of situations. Now, if the mangaka ends it in a way that a reader kind of goes, maybe I can try that and see if it works, and it doesn't work for that reader, then it's going to be a bit of a backlash. And that's worst case scenario. That's me overthinking it and being hypercritical, when in fact, that's probably never going to happen, but it's something I wish to keep in mind moving forward, just to be a little bit on the safe side. But at the end of the day, I want this to go well, and I want to see this story plot thread concluded in the best way possible. But let me know all of your thoughts down in the comment section below. Do you think it's okay for Yuiga and that lot to intervene, considering they are outsiders to the SEKIJO household? But who knows, we may see Yuiga's mother again. That'd be pretty cool. A fantastic chapter overall. Let me know your thoughts down below. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new so you never miss a video from me. Until next time, I hope you have an amazing day. Arigato, matane, goodbye.